Ballots have been cast and the polls are closed, but counting continues for many races across the country following Tuesday's general elections. Coming up, we'll have a look at some local results as well as the current partisan situation in U.S. House and Senate.
STEM has become a familiar term for many people who have grown up over the last decade, with many schools focusing on each of the 4 areas of study more and more each year. MCTV's Noah Creighton recently stopped by an event that invited local K-12 students to campus to see what STEM opportunities Texas Tech has to offer.
And basketball season has officially arrived, with both the men's and women's teams taking the court earlier this week. MCTV's Faith Douglas will be in studio with a look at highlights and scores from the hardwood, along with a preview of what could be one of the biggest games of the year for Tech football and sports.
This is the MCTV Weekday Update.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of the MCTV Weekday Update. I'm Nick Tauschek.
And I'm Grace Beene. On Tuesday, voters headed to the polls for this year's November elections. The local ballot included several races of interest, including the race for Texas governor and the U.S. representative for District 19, which covers the hub city.
Those races, along with many similar seats across the country, took center stage as control of the U.S. Congress was up for grabs during this year's midterm elections. Here in Texas, the governor's race started out tight during early voting, but at the end of the night, current Governor Greg Abbott retained his position by beating out Democrat candidate Beto O'Rourke. Abbott packed up 54.8% of the vote versus 43.8% for O'Rourke, a difference of just under 1 million votes. The governor's election was the main race of interest both here and Lubbock and across the state, with some experts predicting that O'Rourke could actually win the election. Some polls conducted within weeks of the election showed the candidates within 2 percentage points of each other, but those results proved to be inaccurate after Abbott's double-digit win. Along with Abbott, 2 other top state officials were also re-elected on Tuesday. Attorney General Ken Paxton and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick both won their respective races, beating their opponents by close to 10 percentage points as well. Locally, one federal race was on the ballot as Republican incumbent Jody Arrington took on independent candidate Nathan Lewis in the race for United States Representative for District 19. Arrington won in a landslide, securing more than 80% of the vote and continuing to serve the South Plains in Congress. One last issue that was on the ballot for Lubbock voters was Proposition A, a special election to vote on a road bond package to finance construction projects around the city. The proposition passed with more than 67% of residents voting for the proposition. Proposition A had generated a lot of interest locally after a similar proposal failed last November. That proposal included funding to reconstruct brick roads and streets in downtown Lubbock, which received criticism by many voters and resulted in the removal of Broadway Avenue from this year's proposition.
Although the South Plains seat in the House of Representatives was all but assured to remain in Republican control, there was a lot of predictions ahead of Tuesday that some big changes were coming to the U.S. Congress. Although the changes may not be as dramatic as some people expected, the control of both branches of Congress is still undecided. As of today, 3 U.S. Senate seats remain up for grabs after Tuesday's elections. Nevada, Arizona, and Georgia all remain undecided, with Georgia's race heading to a runoff in December. Currently, the Democrats hold 48 of the 100 seats in the Senate, with the Republicans holding 49. One Republican seat flipped in Pennsylvania on Tuesday, making the 3 remaining races extremely important in deciding control of the Senate. In the House, all 435 seats were up for re-election this year, and 393 of those races have been decided. 42 races are still being counted or are too close to call. Right now, Republicans have the lead in seats with 208 seats, and Democratic candidates have won 185 of their races. But the 42 remaining contestants could result in a shift either way, leaving the control of the House a mystery that may not be decided for several weeks.
In other news, the fall sports season is quickly nearing an end, with both football and volleyball's conference schedules coming to an end in less than 3 weeks.
But 2 other teams are stepping up to take their place, and they're already stirring up a lot of excitement here on campus. MCTV's Faith Douglas joins us now in studio with the first look at sports. Faith?
Thank you, Grace and Nick. Tech Athletics kicked off the men's and women's basketball season simultaneously this past Monday at the USA. The Lady Raiders faced off with the Islanders and won 69-49. They had 4 separate standouts in this game, starting with junior Jasmine Lewis scoring 15 points and grabbing 7 rebounds total. With the Lady Raiders winning their game Monday night, head coach Krista Gerlich improves to 3-0 in home openers at her time at Texas Tech. Shortly after the Lady Raiders, the men's basketball team took down the Northwestern State Demons 73-49. It was a good night all the way around for Texas Tech basketball programs, and the men's team will take the court again tonight at the USA at 7 o'clock against the Texas Southern Tigers. Coming up later, I'll have a full look at the football team's game against TCU last weekend and a look at their game this Saturday night facing the KU Jayhawks. Back to you, Grace.
Thanks, Faith. Diversity is an important issue that is often highlighted and discussed here at Texas Tech. But yesterday, the issue of diversity went beyond the boundaries of campus to help Lubbock businesses explore the unique differences found in the local workforce. The Lubbock Chamber of Commerce hosted their annual Diversity Summit on Wednesday at the Overton Hotel and Conference Center. The theme for the 2022 event was Diversity and Inclusion, Opportunities, Not Obstacles. Local business leaders gathered at the Conference Center at 11:30 a.m. to participate in several breakout sections, as well as hear a presentation from keynote speaker Marcus Bullock. Bullock is the CEO of Flickshop and part of John Legend's Unlocked Features Business Accelerators. Bullock spoke during the summit's luncheon. Afterwards, attendees had the chance to discuss a variety of topics during 6 additional breakout sessions. The sessions featured several speakers with tech connections, including Talia Stafford Jackson, an alumni of the College of Media and Communication. Yesterday's Diversity Summit wrapped up at 5:30 p.m.
With Thanksgiving and Christmas only weeks away, the giving season is now in full swing. With that in mind, one group of tech students is hoping that the spirit of the holidays will also translate into some much-needed support for a local nonprofit. The Raising Dough, Changing Lives event is currently underway at the One Guy from Italy location across from campus. The event is a project organized by students in Professor Cindy Buckle's Advertising Campaigns course. The class challenges students to come up with an advertising campaign for a local business or nonprofit organization and then bring that campaign to life. Today's event focused on a give-back event with proceeds benefiting the Ronald McDonald House Charities of the Southwest.
You can do the 15% goes back to RMHC, but we're also doing a raffle, so we're raffling off really cool 2 different bundles. We have a Joey McGuire signed football, a bunch of different things from different boutiques, and it's $5 standard for it, and then all the proceeds for that will go back to RMHC.
The group hosting today's Give Back event is the last set of students to execute their campaign this semester. Other groups held a Halloween-themed event at Addledew Farms and a football watch party with games and food trucks at Two Docks Brewing Company. It's been a week of mild conditions here in the Lubbock area. Temperatures have climbed into the 70s each afternoon, and lows have stayed around 60 degrees the last 2 nights.
That's true, Nick. But after a mild start to the fall season, it looks like colder conditions are finally on their way to the South Plains. And just like about every other weather change in West Texas, it won't be a gradual one. Let's take a look at the MCTV forecast. The MCTV tower cam is showing lots of sunshine today. Clouds cleared out of the area earlier this morning, and that's also led to temperatures climbing back into the 70s again today. Skies should remain clear into the late afternoon and evening, and temperatures should remain mild until around midnight. But after that, some big changes are on the way. Late tonight, wind speeds will begin to increase and temperatures will continue to drop as a cold front moves into our area. Lows are expected to fall into the low 40s, but we could even see 30-degree temperatures before sunrise tomorrow. The increase in winds will also make it feel even colder as the wind chill becomes a factor. The drop in temperatures will continue into tomorrow with a huge change in afternoon highs. Temperatures are only expected to climb into the mid-40s by late afternoon, but the real issue will be the wind. Speeds are expected to stay between 15 and 25 miles per hour with higher gusts possible. Those speeds will result in wind chills at or slightly above freezing throughout the day. If tomorrow's cold snap wasn't enough of a headline, the next big story is Lubbock's first freeze of the fall season on Friday night. Lows should drop close to 32 degrees before midnight, and temperatures will fall even further before sunrise on Saturday. Luckily, we'll see a little bit of a rebound in temperatures on Saturday afternoon, with highs climbing into the 50s. But temperatures will begin falling off right about the time fans arrive to the Jones Stadium for the Tech versus Kansas football game on Saturday night. Temps are expected to be in the high 40s at kickoff, and they could even drop into the 30s before the end of the game. From there, Sunday looks similar to Saturday's conditions, but temperatures could only drop to the freezing mark around sunrise. After that, highs will again climb into the 50s, but winds will also be a bit more breezy on Sunday afternoon. Looking ahead, cold conditions appear to be the norm heading into next week, with freezing temperatures each night and even a chance for some rain and possible icy conditions on Monday morning.
Science, technology, engineering, and math have become big buzzwords in the education community over the last decade. Commonly referred to as STEM education, many schools currently offer options to learn about each of these fields as early as kindergarten. And as MCTV's Noah Creighton showed us, the Texas Tech community has found a fun way to showcase the university's STEM efforts and begin recruiting future Red Raiders long before high school graduation.
Family STEM Night, hosted by STEM Corps, is an incredible event taking place in the ballroom of the Sub, where student organizations are hosting tables for kids to interact with STEM.
We provide opportunities for folks to engage with STEM, whether you're kindergarten through 12th grade, whether you're an undergrad at Texas Tech or faculty, grad students at Tech. So we're all about getting folks involved and engaged with different STEM disciplines.
The group works to bring STEM to the community, and this event helps showcase all of what Tech has to offer.
I got the idea from the Ramirez School STEM Night. It was an event that my club, the Geoscience Student Society, has worked before, and it was really great. And I thought, why don't we do one for the whole community that everyone can come to? So I just helped out with recruiting student organizations, trying to spread the word. But they got the local businesses, they got, students to come and take part. We were really worried no one would show up.
Tables were decorated and held different activities for participants to explore. Fruit drumming, Lego creations, and snakes were on display by different student organizations.
All of the animals that we bring, we've had for years and are very, very gentle and used to being held. And so because of that, they do really well.
Family STEM Night was the first time an event of its kind had been hosted here on campus. Organizers hope to hold this event again next year.
Well, I'm so glad that we're having this STEM conference that people can show off what people are doing across the university, because I think the vast majority of students, and certainly people that are outside of the university, don't have a clue about what goes on.
For MCTV, I'm Noah Creighton.
As we mentioned earlier, Texas Tech Athletics is heading into a transition period as one set of sports is nearing an end, while a new season is just beginning.
MCTV's Faith Douglas joins us again with more details on the beginning of basketball season, as well as a preview of this week's Chili Gridiron Showdown at the Jones. Faith?
Thank you, Nick and Grace. This week has been a great week on the basketball court for the Red Raiders. Both the men's and women's team took care of business on Monday night, chalking up 2 wins at the USA. The men's basketball team defeated the Northwesterners State Demons 73-49. The leader of that game started with Daniel Bacho, who recorded his very first double-double in the scarlet and black. Bacho scored 12 points and had 10 rebounds to help the number 25 Red Raiders Monday night. The men's team now sits at 22 straight home game wins and 23 season opener wins.
I just want to get a W. They're always tough, and they're always, because we have such high expectations, it's always disappointing for the coaching staff, and the coach staff has to remind me, don't take the win away, because they did win, and they played hard, and we played a good opponent that played hard, made some big shots too, and give those some credit.
The men's team will play this evening at the USA at 7 p.m. against the Texas Southern. Then they will play Louisiana Tech next Monday night at home here in Lubbock as well. Jumping from the court to the turf, the football team took a loss on the road against the TCU Horned Frogs last weekend, 34-24. The Red Raiders redshirt freshman quarterback Baron Morton started off solid in the first half, completing 7 for 10 passes before he went down hurt in the second quarter. In those completions, he found Jaron Bradley for a 47-yard touchdown before TCU took over in the second half of the game. Senior quarterback Tyler Shuck took over in the pocket in the second half with a few appearances from Donovan Smith. Shuck completed 9 for 22 passes for 84 yards. He ran one of those touchdowns in himself, but he also threw in an interception. In the fourth quarter, the Red Raiders couldn't hang with TCU any longer as they put up 21 points at the end. The Red Raiders will take on the Kansas University Jayhawks, who are sitting at 6-3 this Saturday evening. It looks like it'll be a very chilly evening this Saturday, so if you're headed to the Jones, you'll probably need to bundle up if you want to go watch some football. That's it for sports. Back to you, Nick and Grace.
Thanks, Faith. So, Grace, are you planning to brave the weather and cheer on the Red Raiders' victory at the Jones?
I'm going to hope that cheering in my apartment will be good enough. I cannot brave that cold.
All right. That's all for today's edition of the MCTV Weekday Update.
Thanks so much for joining us, and be sure to check ttuhub.net every day for more news. We'll see you next week.